Hello. So I am joined by Jessica Silver of ElWell. Hi, Jessica. How are you doing?
Hello, yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, not at all. I think that what we're going to be talking about today is something that is so important and that so many people will be experiencing the kind of thing that we're going to be discussing, but are desperate for the kind of advice that you're going to be giving. So you're from a business called ElWell, which you have set up. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, so at ElWell, I help people in the sandwich generation to look after their parents as they get older. I think that, as our mums and dads get older and they age, a lot of new issues and concerns sort of come up, and we can feel completely clueless about how to help them. It can be anything from how can we help them stay safe at home? Are they falling over? Gosh, I need to think about their balance. How can we improve that? Are they eating right? What are the care options? And it can be really hard to know where to find the answers. I think that when we go through big life changes normally, whether you're having a baby, you're getting married, you're moving house, you can sort of be inundated with information. You can find it really easily. And actually, as our moms and dads get older, we're generally quite squeezed as well with other commitments, our family too. We realise that we want to help them. They can be a bit resistant to it. And fundamentally, it can be really difficult to know where to turn and get the right information. So I joined forces with my lifelong friend, Nancy Farmer. She's a physiotherapist, and we combined essentially our sort of personal and our professional experience in helping older people to create ElWell. And what we really wanted was to create a really useful information hub, somewhere where people can go and find information, advice across a whole sort of range of areas to help essentially their parents with healthy aging, keeping well, but really also answering the questions that you would have about helping your parents. So, it's really talking to you as the sandwich generation, helping you with useful products to get or information and advice.
And it's such an important thing that you're doing, because in every aspect of our life, we normally look to our elders and betters for advice, whether it's on parenting or life choices or career and this sort of thing. And that moment that happens when you suddenly look around and you realize that you are the one in the sandwich generation, that you're caring for your children, but also your parents' needs have changed, and suddenly you're more keeping an eye out for them, is really difficult for everybody to sort of adjust into this new role that we all have. How resistant have you found that some people's parents are to this whole idea of now, actually, mum, dad, I'm going to be keeping an eye out for you? And what sort of tips would you give to someone who's maybe feeling this or experiencing this?
Yeah, it can be a really tricky situation, and it's all about treading really finely and carefully, and fundamentally, keeping your parents' interests at heart and doing things that are really important for them. So, the Office of Fiscal Studies have just released new information saying that actually people born in the 70s, their last surviving parent is going to be around until they're 62, and in the 80s, it's when they're 64. So, there's a lot of, we're all getting a lot older, and it's really important to look at what your parent will need each step of the way. So, you might think, oh gosh, that my friend's parent needs to move into a care home or to get living care at home, so I need to speak to my parents about this. But they might not be ready for that, just in terms of their needs and also their desires. And it's really about understanding what's right for your parent at that right time. And it's really sort of treading carefully in that. So I suppose, I've got a bit of a 3-step action plan that I can help talk people through today, just to give you a bit of an idea around how you can help your parents.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, great. And I'm also really conscious that, some of the things I'm going to talk about are, when you can sort of see your parents. And there are ways that you can do it even during lockdown and during COVID. So obviously this has been a year when we haven't been able to see our older parents as much. And it's still really important to focus on how we can help them as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I think the first step is really sort of, getting prepared. And this is when you kind of do a bit of investigative work, I suppose.
Right.
It's, thinking, right, okay, out of, with your parents, what are you noticing that are the slight changes or the slight problems that they might be experiencing? So is it things like if you were able to go and see your mum, you would notice that she was sort of, finding it harder to reach up to where the coffee cups are up there. And actually, are there things that could be made easier?
Mm-hmm.
Is the house not being kept up as well because, they're not able to clean as well, or, the hoover's too heavy for them, or things like that. Even if you're not able to see them, there are sort of, things that you can ask them on the phone or on FaceTime. So things like, I cooked a really nice dinner for myself the other day. How are you, what have you been cooking for yourself? So you can kind of understand, are they able to get the ingredients? Are they cooking? What are they eating? Are they sort of, what they're able to eat, is that changing? Because as people get older, they might actually not be able to eat red meat as much, and they might need slightly softer foods and things like that. And it's really just kind of piecing this information together and working out, are there areas that, you should probably raise with your parents? Are there things that you don't need to worry about so much? Or are there things that you kind of can maybe put, I suppose, on the back burner and keep an eye on?
And is it worth as well asking around for in the family, if you have brothers and sisters and this sort of thing, or other family members that are keeping in touch with your parents? Because our parents are really smart, and they might get wind of, I think she's checking up on us, so they can present a front, which, to be fair, I know that's what I would do, because I'd hate the idea of anybody feeling like they're having to keep an eye on me, because I've looked after myself for so long. So do you think it's worth asking around to see if we're all feeling the same way, and we're building up a 360-degree picture of this?
Yeah, I think that's super important, to be honest. I think that your siblings, their friends, it's important to choose the right people, but to make sure that, you have got, like you said, a 360-degree view of it. Fundamentally, like I said at the beginning, it's really doing it with your parents' best interest, and also to make your life easier as well, because you want to make sure that, you are helping your parents as much as is possible for them and for you. So I think that, making sure that you're gathering the right information, and that also the next step is talking to them. And having a really honest and open conversation, not springing it on them, but like you said, bringing in the real, the right family members that might need to be part of this conversation. It's such an important, it's kind of like one of these sort of like milestone chats that you're really meant to have, but we don't speak about it. And it's, making sure they understand that, you're empathizing with them, and that you're also being solutions focused. You're doing it because you love them, and not because you think they're old and doddery, but actually because you want to help them age well and be safe. And it's like with a child or a teenager, you would put parameters in place to keep them safe, and that's pretty much what you're doing with your parents. But like you said, as your parents, they have been, free and able for so much longer that they are going to probably be a bit resistant to it. So it's really making sure that it's a nice conversation, and that it also that you're showing your concern, but you're not saying, I'm worried about you because X, Y, and Z. It's having these sort of open conversations and questions that you can have with them to really try to draw the information out.
And also, it's so great that you use the word conversation, because a conversation is a two-way thing. This isn't, stepping in and going, right, I think this is what we should do. We're having a two-way thing about, I have concerns, and this is what I've noticed, and tell me if I'm getting this wrong, but actually this is what I'm observing. And I assume the sort of next step is to plan for the future, because although things might be quite small now, even if it is starting up with not being able to reach as high or lift things that maybe, that they could a year or so before, but really gently starting to have conversations about, right, what are your thoughts about the future? You mentioned whether it's in-home care or moving into a care home environment, starting the conversations almost before you need to take a decision.
Completely. And that's how you can help them sort of, achieve what they want. So the earlier you can start these conversations, the better, I would say. 97% of people want to actually stay in their family home or at their home and don't want to move into a care home, which, makes complete sense even before you think about COVID and the situation that we're currently in. And I suppose, you know, how can you help them do that? It might be small adaptations at home that can actually mean that they're super safe and happy, and you don't really need to think about it for another long while. Or just starting the journey, you know, having a bit of hand holding might make them feel more secure, that they can come to you and talk about any concerns that they've got. You know, there might be resistance, and I think that you need to kind of be aware of that, but it's really about understanding, you know, like, how can you, out of every sort of problem that you and your siblings and your parents have together sort of agreed on, what sort of mini action plan can you put in place for that? You know, what do you need to go and speak to the GP about something? Do you need to educate yourself about a topic?
Yeah.
Who can help you? You know, do you need to get a cleaner? Do you need to see a physiotherapist? Do you need to, you know, understand more about the topic? Do you need to put power of attorney in place? And, you know, it's really thinking about having each topic as a little, as a problem on its own, and breaking it down and understanding who can help you with it. And also within the family, it shouldn't all fall on one person's shoulders necessarily. You know, who can you divide things up between so that your mum and dad feel really supported, but you also feel supported as well, and you're able to, you know, keep every single plate spinning that you already do in your life, and you don't feel completely overwhelmed, because it can be a really emotional and stressful time. And we're not saying that we can take the emotion and the stress out of it, but we want to help as much as we can, and I think it's something that we need to start talking about.
And it's so great, I think, that we're having this conversation, obviously, in the build up to Christmas, because Christmas is a really stressful time in itself. Never mind Christmas during a global pandemic. But, you know, just hearing some of the things that you're talking about there, you know, about sharing out duties or what have you, even if you make them into a Christmas gift. I know I've had family members that have done this before, you know, when that financially maybe they've not been able to, you know, present you with an amazing present in a bow. And we've been given, you know, little cards saying, right, I promise to babysit for you, or if you want a date night, I'll make sure that, you know, everything's okay at home, and all of this sort of stuff. Maybe within your family you can discuss that there are ways that, rather than seeing it as a chore, it's like, right, okay, for Christmas I'm going to pop around your house once a week, and I'm going to make sure that your laundry's all done, or I'm going to do whatever, and make it into something that's a loving gesture, rather than this kind of family chore that you're all signing up for, and get everybody involved.
I think that's a really good way of looking at it. I think that Christmas is a time that you're normally obviously always with your family, and generally care companies will see a massive spike in January, because they, you know, people haven't seen their mum and dad properly for ages, and they've gone, oh my gosh, I feel like, you know, they're getting older and I need to sort something out. But if you actually, you know, flip it and you look at it from a positive outlook and think, right, how can we help them, and collectively, what can we do? And like you say, it doesn't need to be big and expensive. It can be the little steps that can really help them stay well, age well, keep at home, and stay healthy and happy.
And that's really what you're about. I mean, that's the whole ethos of your company and your organization. Now, on this Girls on Fire, you offer a course which is basically helping people work through this process that we've just spoken about. And we're offering this up at half the price at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, that's right. So the course is all about how you can help your parents while maintaining your distance, which is obviously something that we're all having to deal with at the moment, and it can be really tricky. So we look at sort of 3 different areas. The first one's actually, you know, the guilt that we know that a number of people in the sandwich generation feel. Just how can I really help my parents at the moment? There's so much going on, and we really look at how we can kind of try and turn that and make you understand the situation and help you kind of get through it. And then we look at different sort of virtual ideas for how you can connect with your family. So we're not just talking about, you know, a Zoom quiz or something like that, but some really nice tried and tested ideas that we've done, that especially in the lead up to Christmas can be a really nice way of bringing you sort of collectively together. And then in the last section, section, which is maybe more around what I've spoken about here. It's a quick look at how we can help them stay safe at home. So we look at the different rooms and provide advice on what you might be wanting to look for. So for example, you know, from a falls prevention perspective, from a, you know, sort of cooking perspective, bathing, all of that. What are the hints and the tips and the tricks that you might want to sort of keep in mind or go through with your parents, just to kind of think, right, you know, if the home is the haven, how can I really help them to stay there for as long as possible?
It's all really, really brilliant advice. And if anybody is watching this and listening to this and thinking, I don't think I'm quite there yet, it's still worth having a look out, because if you're planning ahead and you're prepared for something that is in your future, rather than it completely catching you unawares, you know what little signs to look out for, you know what little gentle things to insert before it becomes a big deal. And then when things do start to take a turn where you think, actually, I'm going to need to take bigger action steps, it's not so alien to you, because you've already had the foresight to sort of look into it. And you know, forewarned is forewarned is forearmed. And you know, when you're pregnant, you buy all these books about what, you know, what's happening inside of you and toddler years and all that sort of stuff. But there's this huge gap in terms of, when you flip it around, how do I care for my parents? So I think that you've done a brilliant job. Even if people do nothing but listen to what we've talked about today, you will have helped so many people, Jessica. So thank you so much. It's been lovely talking to you today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Yeah,
You're very welcome. Thank you. Bye. I'm going to figure out how to end the Zoom call now. This is the one thing that I'm working on with my technology, but thank you.
Bye.